Welcome to Pet Business Disruptors. I'm Clayton.
I'm Harvey.
And I'm here today with Hugh Petit, who is co-founder and COO of Grub Club Pets, a insect pet food company who have recently got good traction coming through Pets at Home. So welcome, Hugh.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I know, so you should be.
Yeah, well, yeah. Highlight of my week, get out of the office.
So, yeah, tell me, when did you wake up and say, you know what, insect-based dog food, that's the direction my life needs to take right now?
It's a good question. So from a personal perspective, I was kind of in between moving out of a job that I was doing previously I was actually in restaurants in London, and always wanted to kind of stay within startup. And I met my co-founder, Alessandro, who had kind of started the journey of insect-based dog food and Grub Club itself early on. And the idea stemmed out of an article in the Wall Street Journal about a lady in America who wanted to create the Beyond Meat of pet food and using insect protein. And that, I think, piqued interest for Ale, and then when I met him, for me, I think digging deeper into the pet food industry itself and seeing the kind of hidden problem of the impact of pets on the planet and no one really understanding that 20% of the world's meat and fish is consumed by cats and dogs, for example, and we all know the impact of livestock farming on the planet. It kind of augments it, and you suddenly realise that actually there's a huge impact that our pets have on the planet in terms of a carbon paw print, if you like, that we're not necessarily aware of. And insect protein is a great way of solving that. Second one is also around the health and benefits. Insect protein is such a rich and good protein for pets, an oil protein, so a case for hypoallergenic if you want. And when you marry the two together, it made a lot of sense. An opportunity to kind of disrupt the pet food industry in a different way, offer something different to customers, and also that kind of humanization trend that you see in pet food as well. And a lot of that in the human space with Beyond Meat or other alternative protein sources or alternative milks that people consume these days, pet tends to follow. So we saw an opportunity that we thought we should capitalize on.
Yeah, I mean, how have you found it, like, dealing with consumers? Because you started off as D2C, right, in the D2C market. How did you find, like, consumer response, and when you actually got out and initially were, like, toting the product to the unsuspecting public?
So initially when we were launching and kind of pre-launch, going through building the brand, supply chain, product development, etc., I think having conversations with friends and family around wanting to launch an insect-based dog food, I think people thought we were making something particularly strange. But that narrative's changing, and the customer education side of it is definitely changing. There is still a bit of a yuck factor. I mean, you should go through some of the comments we have on Facebook around people.
WF.
Well, yeah,
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, someone emailed the other day saying we should kill ourselves. So that was raw. And maybe they feed raw, I don't know, but it can get spicy. But generally, it's definitely changing. There is still that yuck factor around bugs, and I think the Western palate isn't necessarily informed or doesn't understand what insects taste like, or there's that kind of yuck factor, as I said. So there's still that barrier. But I think once you get over that first hurdle and get them on board around the sustainability benefits of insect protein, and then also the nutritional side of things, which is probably more important from a pet's perspective, you suddenly can start seeing the cogs change, and it's a long game, and we need other people in the game to help us do it as well.
How do you overcome that skepticism around the insect side of it?
In terms of on hand with customers, it's sampling a lot of that. We know we'll often eat it ourselves to prove that it tastes fine and good. So we do various different strategies and testimonials. We also rely heavily on vets to endorse it as well, to really kind of break that barrier down, that first fear, if you like.
Yeah, it's weird because I think, like, the market has changed significantly. I remember first seeing Eura come out, like, maybe best part 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. Everything seems like a long time pre-COVID, right? It's like, but seeing that come out and seeing, I think definitely people have warmed to the idea of it a lot in the last couple of years, compared to where they were, and I think also, knowledge is transmitted easier. so it's easier now to talk on social media and TikTok and that sort of stuff and really promote actual knowledge through the public, as opposed to historically you're relying on pet store owners basically to have that knowledge at hand.
Totally, yeah. The customer is more informed than ever. I find, and that can help. That can be a hindrance and a good thing as well. But we see it change all the time, and actually more and more people say, we do quite a lot of consumer shows, crafts, etc. And a lot of people go, well, it'll be us next eating insects, and we go, yeah, it will be. Probably likely it'll creep into our human diet before long. So that it's definitely changing. We're feeling it. I think we feel as if we're on the right side of that wave to capitalize in terms of where we are positioned as a brand, and then within the category in the market. So, fingers crossed it becomes much more common sense, so to speak.
I think half the customers I see, it's either love it or they absolutely hate the idea of it. So it's very clear cut with that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we get some pretty fierce opinions online, and you can't win everybody, and we're not here to cater to everybody. We're here to offer an option for customers. At the moment, it's mostly customers who have issues with their pet around allergies and intolerances, and that's great. And we're not here to say that we're the best or this is the best option, this is the only option. It's not. We're not designed to do that. If you want to feed your dog raw food, totally respect that. If that suits your dog, then happy days. Make your dog happy.
I mean, changing tack slightly, like as a brand, you've gone from 0 to Pets at Home really quickly, and Pets at Home is in the UK, especially in the investment world, seen as being the golden goose. And I always say to people, it takes, if somebody came to me completely cold and said, look, I have a product, I want to get into Pets at Home, I'd say, well, look, there's a hell of a lot of building up you need to do before you even sort of tackle that market. But you guys seem to have passed it out really quickly. So, John, how did you do it? It's impressive how quickly you've actually got in the doors.
Yeah, so we've been speaking to them for about a year. We had been up to Manchester to meet them and kind of do a pitch and presentation on the product. And they particularly look interested in the treats in our dental sticks, which we now list. And the conversation had sort of been bubbling along, but we kind of felt it would be happening maybe this summer. And we may have featured online before then. But an opportunity came up just after Christmas to do a kind of 12-week power panel with them, which was out of the blue, sort of. But we were in the wings, ready to so to speak. We were not necessarily had all the stock that they needed, but we got there and we just grasped the opportunity. It was something we couldn't let go, and we were, it was a race to get there, and we kind of were very fortunate. And I think credit to Pets at Home for giving us an opportunity. I think as a brand we do try and challenge, we do try and be different, and offer something different to what they might also have in store already. But they also have been pioneers into insect themselves. They have their own product, so I think they wanted to kind of diversify the category and saw us an opportunity. So I think that for us, we're really grateful, and we're now going fully listing in August with all stores as part of the core range. So that's really exciting, and we've been very lucky. But it was in terms of giving you a straight answer in terms of the strategy behind it, because of the fact that it was something that's so new that came out of the blue, it was more luck than anything really. I know you make your own luck.
Most things are to some degree. It's easier to say, to be honest, I always say things are luck because you have to get them right in front of the right person. That person's got a vibe with what you've got. There's a lot of luck involved with any category. It's like when I got my products into Chewy, for example, the guy who was the category buyer just loved the product, and so it was fucking easy. It's I was in the right place at the right time, speaking to the right person, and we hit it off, and he loved the product, and I told him everything he wanted to hear. So, but at the same time, you also have to be, luck is also too simplistic sometimes, because you also have to have the framework and the framework and the background to actually be able to deliver on those promises.
Yeah, absolutely. I obviously we went out there and sold it to them and preached the benefits of bugs and told them why this works and what we're seeing with other customers and consumers. So obviously that hard work went into it to give us that opportunity, and then the power panel side of things was a lucky break that came faster than we anticipated, and we made it work. And yeah, as I said, we're going to be in August. So that's, I guess, as I said, you make your own luck in that side of things. And yeah, thanks to Pets at Home for that opportunity, because we're really super grateful for it.
Do you think, because you guys also very smartly won the Sky TV £500,000 worth of
£1 million.
£1 million,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, worth of adverts, which are probably only worth under £500,000, but impressive, right? I mean, and I think do you think that played into it? Because that was,
I think partly, yeah. I mean, as soon as we won that, we pretty much emailed them and said, this is what's happened. Because we were potentially going to be launching it online with them only in the run up to August. So we were kind of looking to maybe see what we could do around how we could deploy that ad, and what we could use around the end card, for example, available online at Pets at Home, for example, or whatever. That may have. I mean, they've not told us that was
no,
it.
No, I don't know. No, but nobody's going to tell you that. But it does. I think things like that. It's like I say to people all the time. It's about people will buy your product if there's already a strong reason to do it. A lot of the time when you go in completely cold, it's very hard to convince somebody. But if I've, let's say, got 1,000 stores already price stocking my product, it's easy for them to go, well, we're losing out here. And so if you've got £1 million worth of Sky ads, it's like they're going to have a feed through into the market. And so who's going to capitalize on it? Is it going to be them, or is it going to be, I don't know, Jollies or Kennelgate or is it just going to be your D2C or whatever? So yeah, it definitely plays into it for sure,
Yeah, I think so. And it's, I mean, we still haven't used any. I mean, we've spent only about 100 or 150k on that money, so there's still a lot of money left to play with. And we're testing and learning. But I think that was really towards the end of last year when we won that. That was a pivotal step change for the business. I feel from it really validated who we are as a brand. I think what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, and certainly it was a tight competition against some other amazing brands out there, and some amazing adverts that will be on TV now as well. But I think that was really the minute that I felt as if, okay, we're up another gear here, I think.
Yeah. Mate, it's definitely a new level. Yeah. And again, kudos to you guys for capitalizing once you hit that new level, because it's easy to see a level change, but then also not capitalize on it. And I think we've used it obviously to get to get listed by Pets Home. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
man.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think also to also put us to allow people to get eyes on the brand. It's a good way of driving fame to us as a brand, and also for category too. I mean, to be pumped into loads of different houses across the UK from on Sky is, 2 years in or 2.5 years into business and £1 million to spend with Sky. It's like, it was just it's kind of amazing. I still a bit of a pinch me moment, really. But anyway.
Yeah. And I heard you got a tattoo out of it as well.
I did, yeah. Well, I was wondering if that was going to come up. I do, yes. I made a. This is the problem with drinking with your colleagues. Is I made a drunken promise that if we did win that, then I would get a tattoo on my rear of a branded Grub Club tattoo, and they then had the opportunity to design it for me, and I would then pick it. So I have a very tastefully untasteful tattoo on my bum, which lives on social media. You can find it on TikTok. You can go and find it. You'll see it. It's there. I'm not going to get it out today. But that's the kind of the fun that we have. I think we are prepared to challenge, do things differently, have fun with it. I mean, we really work hard and but we want to have fun along the way, and we want people to engage with us, and we'll do. We won't do everything crazy thing, but we'll try and have fun, and if it can drive engagement or drive brand awareness, then if that means more tattoos on my bum, then I'll do it.
I love your marketing. It's It's incredible.
Thank you.
I like the poo bag. I'm surprised you're not wearing one today.
Yeah,
to be fair.
well, we've called it the hottest accessory of 2024. Yeah, poop bags. It was just a fun. We try, as I said, we find the pet food industry, and I don't mean to be disparaging, and respect to everybody, but we find it can be quite same, quite formula, bland in parts, and we felt as if we're an insect-based dog food. We're here to do something a bit different. Let's shake it up a little bit by communicating differently. Let's have jazzy colours. Let's do fun and weird and interesting and entertaining things that people can engage with. I mean, pets. There are millions and millions and millions of videos on TikTok or Instagram of dogs doing funny things or silly things, and cats too. And people engage with those videos. I engage with them. I love them, likes and all. So we wanted to kind of bring that to the fore. Dogs are fun, silly characters. They're not all pedigree labs in a field. So why not communicate that through a brand as well? And so yeah, we try and have a bit of fun. It can be silly. I'm sure at some point, if I ever have children, they'll look back and go, "What were you doing?" But whatever.
And to be honest, like, your marketing's been it's been very different. I mean, I like it. Because I think people also forget sometimes, like, how quirky the pet trade is. So, like, quirky advertising, like Ali dressing up as Willy Wonka, and your original, like, London billboard campaign with the dog's bollocks and all this sort of stuff. It's good because, again, like, we live in, like, I think people forget we live in a time where there's so much media, there's so much advertising, there's so much hitting you that if you don't stand out, or like it's like that category disruption where you're just like, I watched like 100 videos of some dude talking nonsense, and then wallop, there's like Ali running around like Willy Wonka in a train and handing out golden tickets for dog treats. I mean, it's kind of it makes you stop and watch, and that's the key thing, right?
Yeah, I hope so. There are still 2 golden tickets out there, so go and find them as of time of recording. I think I think you nailed it on the head. It's we wanted to be different. We wanted to stop you scrolling, grab your attention. If that's doing something silly, I mean, there is always a serious point behind it. There is obviously we are a serious brand selling a product to help dogs, nutritionally, and the planet too. So there is still a serious cause behind it. But if it can grab your attention, as you say, there's loads of media out there. So if we can do that, then happy days. Yeah.
Like, where do you see like your product lines going? Like, because obviously at the moment you have the dry kibble, you have a few treat lines.
Yeah.
Obviously you've brought in poo bags.
Yeah.
But that's I'm assuming more of a D2C filler rather than a serious product line for you.
The poop. I mean, there is interest now in retail from retailers. But the poop bag was more of a basket builder for customers, and we would just, it was an easy opportunity for us to do it, have a bit of fun, create a fun product, but also allow, certainly for D2C customers, we would like to try and be the one-stop shop solution. I know a lot of people are trying to do that, but if you're buying poop bags from online elsewhere, why not just get them in your subscription with us? It's will hopefully be more affordable. It's more convenient for you. There it is. That drives our AOV up. Happy days. Customers are happy too. So. But I think we are looking from an MPD side of things. We're definitely looking at a few more treats. So as you said, we have the complete food, which is kind of an adult food for all breeds, adult dogs. And then we have 3 functional treats, which are baked, and they are one is called Canine Shine, skin and coat treat. One is called the Poop Perfector, which is probably the most popular one, and it does exactly what it says on the tin, and that's digestion focused. And then there's Sit, Roll, Treat, Repeat, which is more of a training treat, superfood training treat. And then we have dental sticks, and they're kind of dual action, calming and dental. And we're looking to do more around, certainly looking into the wet space, either as a complete food or some ancillary wet products as well, and then other ranges within the food range. So probably a small breed to start with, and we may look at a senior one. Small breed and puppy, I think, will combine together. Yeah.
How do you pick the correct idea? How do you pick your next product?
Through strategy. I mean, we research the market. So we go to trade shows. I was at Interzoo in Germany the other week, and looking at what other people are doing and seeing what's popular. Just speaking to people within the industry. speaking to retailers, understanding what they want and look for, and then also our customers, most importantly. So if we're looking to do something D2C side of things, we'll always survey them and ask them what they want or what they're getting from somewhere else that we can provide. Poop bags was an example of that. Dental sticks was another example of that. And then work out, if this is the right thing to do. If we sign it off and say yes, we'll do it, then we start the process of that kind of NPD pipeline, which is discussing with nutritionists, building a formulation, working with the manufacturer. If it's someone we already work with, we'll then plug it into our existing supply chain with them. Or if we need to find someone else, we'll then go out to market and find people to work with.
And presumably that all costs money. So you've had to raise money. How have you achieved that?
So fundraising, nothing unfortunately is free. Except when I'm sampling and giving out food bags. We've done a couple of raises, and mostly that's come through angels, friends and family, and we have one sort of institutional money on board as well, a VC, and that's been, we did a raise pre-launch, which was to help build the brand. We invested heavily in brand to begin with, and then also into the early stage of product and supply chain. And the second one has been more around kind of growth of the business. It's been last year. We were raising last year, and it was a very challenging time. I think climate-wise, it was pretty impossible, certainly for consumer brands to raise money. But last year was certainly more. I think our strategy pivoted from growth to more staying on the pitch, so to speak, using a football analogy. But those were the challenges. And I think we'll be going out again in the next few weeks really to do another big raise for the summer, which will hopefully then drive us for the next 24 months really into profitability hopefully as well.
How do you find having a venture capital company on board? Because I know there's big variations, but I've heard people say that they can be restrictive. They can force you into certain pathways. How have you found it personally?
From personal experience, smooth. We've had them on board since the beginning. So they joined us as an SEIS fund, and they have been very supported us on the way, followed on when needed to as well. So, and then they sit on our board. So we have sort of quarterly board meetings, and so far it's been smooth. They've been very encouraging for us. They've kind of let us get on with it. They obviously have some ideas that they share, and they're very good at plugging us in with other people if we need advice or want to talk to someone else in the industry or outside of the industry that are on similar paths or similar journeys, and host events, etc. So they've been very, very supportive. Very, I wouldn't say hands off, but certainly there when we need them. And but otherwise they've been happy with where we're going, what we're doing. So, but I can't speak for others. We've spoken to other institutions and either not gone on board with them or not working with them now. I think it is that is what it is really in terms of that space.
I think also things would be different if you weren't crushing it, right? It's like it's like I think it's easy for venture capital. I think you've probably got more leeway where you're doing well and like you're seeing like the consistent growth and obviously like I say hitting the Pets at Home deal was, I think for most venture capital companies would be like a golden goose in terms of like where they want you to be. If I said I'm going to have a pet food consumer company, they say right, long-term goal, Pets at Home. Mm-hmm. That's kind of always the trajectory, because I think externally everybody sees Pets at Home as the only like pet retailer in the country, whereas like for me, I really like Jolly's branding, for example. I think they do a really good job, but it's easy to see like from an external perspective, investment companies are often looking for that. I already know this, but I'm pretty sure Harvey doesn't. Can you just explain the SEIS funding and the EIS funding side of things?
Yeah, so it's more of it's a government-backed scheme which provides a bit more security from a investor's perspective around investing in young businesses or startups. So it provides relief schemes, particularly on tax relief for investors. I think SEIS you get 50% of your tax back, income tax back, and then 25% on the EIS side of things. and there's a certain allocation given to amount within what the startup can raise. I'm not hugely au fait with all this, but it's like 150k, and then there's more in the IS.
3 million, I think. IS, yeah.
So it's an incentive. I think it's a great scheme. It's an incentive for young or investors, angels, to invest in startups to help grow. And there are other incentives around. I think you get less tax on exit, etc. So
I think also with SEIS, I think if you go bankrupt within the first few years, I think the investor gets roughly 86% of their investment back.
Yeah.
So if they put in 10 grand,
yeah,
they stand only as long as they're paying enough tax. They can get potentially 8,600 back on that, even if you fail. So it's quite a strong reason. Because I'll be honest, before I had any idea about the investment, I was always like, why would anyone invest 100 grand into that at that valuation? And a lot of it's to do with SEIS, EIS funds in terms of like securing
reducing the risk.
Reducing the risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very back to basics question. So I have an idea. How do I take that idea off the starting line?
I would say do your research, get a product in hand, test it. I mean, using our example, before we launched, we researched the market and saw there was appetite in the market for what we were doing. There were other people doing it. We then decided on what our strategy was going to be around why we were different if we were going to launch a business to them. And then, I mean, initially we were doing very grassroots stuff, baking stuff in our kitchens, taking stuff to parks, handing it out, seeing this response, getting feedback, building a focus group. And then I think once you've kind of got that first level of interest, so to speak, you have a product, I think I can sell it, I have an audience. Then the next step is, okay, finding the supply chain and building the brand. Because ultimately your USP and your IP will be A, your brand, and B, the difference from your product to what it is to what else is in the market.
And at what point would you look to get your capital behind it?
Well, so we did it pre-launch.
Okay.
So talking from experience, in the two startups, they're very different industries. We both had capital on board pre-launch. So it was and we, going back to that brand point, we really invested heavily in brand because that really is a core part of our IP that you can't copy. You can mimic it, but people will find out or see it. And that was such a core and important part of what we were trying to do. So I would say you can bootstrap to beginning in terms of early stage research and testing. But once you've got a product that you can sell and you've got an audience, then get some investment on board. And it doesn't have to always just be through investors per se or institutions. You can get grants and schemes through the government or even loans, business loans. So there are ways of getting money on board without it being an investor pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you have things like Innovate UK, for example.
Exactly.
Like my company's obviously had Innovate UK grants for what we've done. So, it doesn't have to be. I mean, the trouble is if you keep selling equity, you get diluted quite quickly.
Yeah,
and it's maybe not the right thing to do. Like when you have to, it's a scale up move in a lot of the ways, are you free to talk about the new products you've got lining up in the MPD space? Or?
I can talk a bit about some. Yeah. There's one category I can't keep top secret. Well, not top secret, but
really
we
don't
don't
want top secret.
No, it's not top secret. But we think it's it's an idea that we think no one's really doing in our space at the moment, so we'd like to keep it semi-loose.
Yeah.
But so I can talk about. I mean, in terms of what we're definitely working on, we're working on a wet food. I think we'd like to try and launch that quite soon. We have put forward some formulations, which we've discussed with nutritionists, obviously, or our in-house nutritionist, to produce this year. I think 3 more treats on the horizon, focusing more away from functionality in towards more flavour.
Yep.
And we have another product launching very soon, which is a peanut butter bar. That'll be out in the market hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
The movement we're making towards, certainly with the flavour side of things, is I think we want to add that opportunity of more reward style for customers to have. I think so much of what we speak about in terms of the food and is around function and the benefits of what the product does. All of our products will still have a functional benefit, and certainly all contain insect protein, which has a lot of functional benefits to it. But we want to be able to provide customers an opportunity to reward their dogs too with a tasty treat, not just a treat they feel as if they're giving to make them, like almost like medicine or something.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is that, like, I think people, I mean, look, functional treats are becoming more of a thing. But it's easy to forget that, like, the main reason people buy a treat for their dog is because they want their dog to love it. They want their dog to be super happy. It's we buy it. That's the main reason people are spending money on products. Full stop. Is your dog is like your child, and it's sort of like you want it to be happy, you want it to be excited. So it's I think that can get a little bit lost sometimes in terms of when it gets translated into products.
Yeah, definitely. I think we found that's probably been the hardest thing to communicate in terms of flavour, because insect, going back to kind of the palatability of it from a human perspective, no one really knows what insects taste like. So trying to communicate flavour of insect to humans is like, well, they're going to go, well, I don't know what that, I can't relate to it like they can with chicken or beef or salmon or lamb, which a lot of other brands do and use and cleverly market it to kind of augment the taste of it, to say, oh, this is, this tastes like the roast dinner or whatever. Yeah. We aren't able to do that, but we can communicate it in a different way, hopefully, or use other ingredients in the formulations to then go, this is a really tasty product because it tastes of X, Y, Z. Oh, and it's also got insect protein in it as well.
Yeah. No. Yeah, because I mean, like, the other companies are pretty good at that. I think is it McAdams that have the 2 free range chickens in every bag or something like that, and it's like, they present it like a nice roast chicken, whereas I suppose for you can't really present a roast black soldier fly larvae.
Yeah, exactly. Barbecued bugs, but not yet. I mean, maybe in time. But lilies were the ones we look at the most, who are so good at doing that. The roast dinner, as I said, and I think the casseroles, and they related it to mealtime. They related it to dish, and if I was walking down the shelf, it would catch my eye. Or that, I know what that tastes like. That sounds delicious. My dog will love that. Yeah. I'll buy that. It's clever, and we do look at them as a comparative and say, look, how can we achieve that angle, but using insect instead of meat? Yeah. It's something we're working on.
How do you feel like your views of the industry have changed as you sort of have come into it to now? Because obviously, like, I think everyone walks into a situation with an idealized set of values or views or expectations of what an industry is going to be like, and then the reality of being at the sharp end of it is very different.
It's a good question. I didn't really come in with any preconception. I've only been in it, truth be told, 2.5, 3 years. Yeah. I knew it would be fairly segregated in terms of people would probably have an opinion of how they should feed their dog and what's right. Yeah. And that's fine, and we respect that. I didn't realise it was as small as it is in terms of everyone knows everybody, and it's great when you go to trade shows and you suddenly see everybody there, and you're like, oh my gosh, and everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows what what's going on. So,
dude, I'm the worst for that. I go to trade shows and I have to hide from people continuously, man.
But I found it very friendly. Like I think I found it very engaging. It's fast moving. I wouldn't say it sticks the analogy of it's a dog-eat-dog world like some business can be. It's actually very inclusive. But I didn't have any real preconceptions around the kind of industry itself. I think maybe the thing that's taken me by surprise the most is its scale. It's so big. I mean, going to Interzoo, for example, talking globally, UK market is massive, but talking globally, I mean, the size of this trade show, I was overwhelmed. I mean,
it's actually disgustingly big.
Yeah. I didn't see every hall that was on.
I've been going to Interzoo since 2002, and never once have I ever got around every single hall. I think last time it was like 16 halls. I don't know what it was this year, but it's usually between 15 to 17 holes, and you just have so much. Like, you can do 3 in a day before it gets like you just get like fatigued as hell.
Yeah.
And so you've got 4 days if you're lucky, and also like when it comes to shows, like I love in the zoo because it's massive, but I think like my favorite is still Super Zoo in America, just because it's big enough that 2 days you're good. You can see everything in 2 days. And you can have conversations. I always find the issue with Interzoo is that it's so big that like when you actually talk to somebody, nobody's really got an answer, because you could be a distributor, you could be like a dude, you could be talking to the guy who just does export to the Far East or something, and nobody's really got an answer for you. And you get so many cards and so many leaflets. By the time you get home, you're like, yeah, this is just a mound of crap in a bag. I don't even remember half these people now at this point,
Yeah.
So I think there's like it can be a bit big in that sense. But whereas something like Super Zoo, you can kind of get around a bit quicker. I kind of like the semi-regional shows.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Pats, I'm excited for Pats this year.
Yeah, we did Pats twice last year, and actually found the first one we did it was at Sandown. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And then the second one was at Telford, and both were hugely valuable. I think we had great conversations that came out of them. Certainly with a few wholesalers and retailers we now list with, and also with the kind of more independent pet stores as well. It was a great way to kind of get out there. And I think for us, we see the UK. Well, we see opportunities abroad, but I think the main focus for us this year and certainly for next year is to really double down on the UK market and nail it here first. And so Pats is a really key one for us in that sense. And I think that the change of format with the 3-day event now in October in Telford would be great.
But just having one is massive.
Yeah.
Like, because my sort of criticism of Pats has been for a number of years is that because it's too often, it's less of an event, and therefore it becomes hyper regionalized. So I remember, like, before it was in Telford, it was in Harrogate, and I did the Harrogate show, and I swear it was just people from Yorkshire. Like, and then you'd have, let's say, it was like 80% people from Yorkshire, 20% everywhere else. And then when I was at Telford, it was like nearly everyone was from like Wolverhampton, or they were from Shrewsbury, or maybe they were from Birmingham, but it was like hyper regionalized again. And I think like having just one event, like one really good event per year, is much better. That's why I'm quite excited for it this year, because I think just actually focusing it in on one big event is a much better idea, to be honest.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, I think also for us, it means that hopefully everyone's there at one time. We can have as many conversations it's an intense 3 days, but we can see as many faces as we need to see quickly. It's like I said at Interzoo, it's almost like having all of my LinkedIn in one room.
Yeah. And again, this is another thing. So, like, building a dog food brand, it's the hardest thing in the industry. Like, I've always said, like, to people, I mean, obviously my background is more like dog treats, wild bird food products, etc. I've worked for dog food companies, but I've always said selling dog food is the hardest thing, and especially for a small team, because you got to hit the grassroots people, you got to hit the trade people. You got to hit. There's so many different levels to hit within that sector. How have you found it? Because I think you've definitely stepped into the hardest bit, and I think like having the treats has definitely been a savior for you, right?
Yeah. So, we had a strategy. So, and it kind of changed. So I think our North Star's never changed in terms of what we want to try and achieve with the brand and the business. But how we've got there has pivoted slightly. So when we launched back in December 21, we launched with just the 3 treats. And we kind of felt that was a great way for customers to try out the category, try out insect-based products, prove it's not a bag of bugs, it's tasty, it works for your dog. And we launched D2C. And we found very quickly that although the product feedback was great, people wanted it, people were buying it, the frequency of purchase wasn't there to support D2C growth quickly enough. And subscription, which we were also keen to launch, or had launched, but we were seeing uptake on subscription for treats really low. Effectively, we found that treats were going into a drawer with loads of other dog treats.
Yeah.
People pick them up, use them, and then try them out, with
Yeah.
other different things. So brand loyalty wasn't necessarily there enough for us to make DC work. Thankfully, we had done the MPD on the food in the background, and had effectively nailed the formulation, done the process, that we then decided to launch that far faster than we ever anticipated. We got to a juncture where we thought, okay, either we don't do DC and we focus now on retail with the treats and take that, but we had a few key learnings from that period, but ultimately not enough data points to really then present it to retail and say, you should stock this. This is great. This is the reason why it will work and we'll help sell it. Or do we then launch the food and go and stick to our guns with DCC and try and drive that way? And there was appetite for food. We'd had feedback from customers saying, like the treats, but are you thinking about doing food? So we went with the food option, launched that within about 6 weeks. I still don't really understand how we did it, but we did do it. And then in April 22, had that live online and selling. And that's really where that growth in terms of the D2C side of things picked up, and subscription really began to pick up. And then we really got a lot more learnings from our customers around what they were looking for, the product benefits, and the way in which we communicate the value propositions of our products. And that really then allowed us to scale and grow, build up a good base to then start looking into retail. I think that journey has been, I feel, it's been expensive. We've made some mistakes, don't get me wrong, but that journey's worked for us. And I think now, looking at the treats now, which were then just a great kind of add-on for customers, or an opportunity to add something into the basket, bundles, etc. Now treats are really working for us in that conversation that when we're back at that start point again, almost that start point again, like, well, do we go down the retail route? Now treats are really doing that conversation and work for us. And I think retailers are seeing them as that opportunity. Okay, well, let's test it. If it works, then we can look at food.
Yeah, 'cause I always found that, so obviously, in my wholesale business, we used to, our business was built around wild bird food and treats, and you might say that's a weird combination, but we had the wild bird food because shops would need it every week. If we could sell a shop their wild bird food, their peanuts, their sunflower kernels, their rabbit food, they would order from us every week. And then you sell them the natural treats, that would then give them a good selection of products. But also, it can be hard to make your order up on a treat-based item. And it's the same with D2C, is that, would you buy crisps online? Would you buy chocolate bars online? Not really, but if you're online, you're buying your dog food and they've got treats, yeah, man, I'll chuck that on, So there's an element of it's a product it's an easy one to sell under the right circumstances, but it doesn't necessarily have a strong sell-through on its own with no framework.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, man.
Yeah, I think we looked at various people who are doing it, like Denzel's, for example, is a great case study for us to go, well, they're doing it. But I think the other challenge was obviously that we are insect based, and I think so you had almost two barriers to break there, which was certainly from a D2C side of things hard work. So, and obviously Denzel's do have a retail side of things as well to prop them up. So but they were just doing treats, and I think we felt as if we could do at least certainly a year on treats alone. But that changed quite quickly, and thankfully we made the right decision.
Yeah.
Do you have a star product, or is it quite broad? How your sales
depends on the channel. So for online, the food, obviously the food is the big one.
And is most of that through subscription?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We retain about 95% of our customers month to month, which is pretty cool. So that's the most popular one online. But when it comes to retail, or online retail with other channel like Amazon, for example, then the food's now taking over on Amazon, but the Poop Perfector, the other treat, the one I spoke about earlier, is always the one that really outsells and does well. I think it's the one that really it hits the note in terms of a pain point that a customer has around their dog's digestion or their dog's stool, and this can fix that. So that's the one that I think, and there's humour in it as well, I think, which helps. But dental sticks are creeping in as well. They only launched in October last year, so but they're beginning to become up there as well. And that we felt was a product that customers really wanted, and so those are coming through nicely with retailers as well.
I think like the functionality aspect to the dental sticks is nice. Was it used chamomile? Is it in the
Chamomile and hemp, yeah.
hemp? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like hemp to
They
chew?
were.
on?
No comment. Yeah, that was definitely something that we wanted to. It actually was built on feedback from customers. We surveyed them, asking around what other treats would they like us to produce, or what other products they'd like us to produce. Dental sticks was one of them, and then other functionalities that they might look for. And calming was a big one that came through. Or my anxiety in pets was a big one. So we sort of saw the opportunity to go, well, why not kind of create something that does both, and put it to test, surveyed again, and here we are.
No. So if you could like sort of give advice to Hugh from 5 years ago, what would it be? If you could look back and say, poke your head through a mirror and go, Hugh, when you're going to get involved with selling insect-based dog food, when you do this, don't do that.
There are things I could be a lot better at in terms of. I think I was probably less aware of what it takes to launch a business. I think the idea of being an entrepreneur and having a startup is, from the outside in, it looks very exciting. You can, hopefully you build this business and it'll do really well, and you can A, hopefully make money, or B, have an impact or leave a legacy or something like that. But actually, I think when you get into it and realize that the scale of, the journey you've got to go on to get there, and the amount of focus and time and discipline it takes for one to do that is something I knew of, but not necessarily totally aware of. And I think I don't have any regrets in terms of what I'm doing. I think I couldn't do anything else. But I at some points wish I had been more focused at certain times, or been more aware of the pitfalls that can take place, and the risk, I guess, as well. I think in those very early stages, and still now in many ways, that the risk is still always there. It's still a fragile. We're still not running at full speed, so we could still trip up. And I think having that in your back of your mind, but not having it be the forefront fear of what drives you, knowing that you're doing the right thing, but always having that second awareness, going like, just, you've got to be disciplined, and you've got to, you really got to crack on and get your head down and work hard, and that success will then come. I don't know if I've answered that question very well.
No.
I don't have any regret. I don't have any sort of look back and learn and say, wish I'd done something differently. But
I think the problem is, always is like, when you look at a business externally, it's very easy to look at it and go, okay, that's straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Whereas actually, like, even things like, let's say, building margins and like understanding, let's say, what does a retailer need to work on? What do I need to work on to be profitable? Like building things out and then working out the retail price and then scaling back. I mean, so it's a common thing I see a lot, especially because obviously if you were to deal with, let's say, a big chain in the United States, for example, I could give them a price today. Let's say the retail price is, let's say for example, $10, and I say, okay, well, I produce it for, let's say, $3. I could sell it to them for $4, and then that will get me the work. But then you say, well, I'll offer it to you for $4, and you'll make it a big margin. What people don't realize is things that they'll come back to you and say, yeah, $4's fine, but we also have an SEO optimization, a marketing fund, and that's going to cost you 20% of your revenue, and then suddenly you're losing money. So it's understanding the pitfalls of actually how you break down your thing, because you need to make money. There's always expenses. I mean, if you deal with a lot of these companies, you need to have like EDI software, which is £100 a month, just to receive and send back the orders and invoices. So it's understanding there's a hell of a lot goes into actually building this out. And if you're producing, and I'll talk to people and they go, well, this is costing me a £5, I can sell it for a £10. And you go, yeah. Like if you're just planning on selling it out of your shed for the rest of your life, you can. But if you're serious about building out a distributable brand, you need to find a way of, if it can only sell for a tenner, of making it for more like £2.50.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think we have got better at looking into that. Well, certainly, we also rely a lot on people who've done it before, or industry experts, or people, advisors who can help us break down those sort of things and help us understand what's required and what these other people will be, retailers, etc., will be looking for. But also, he's obviously not here today. My co-founder Ale is someone I look up to every single day, and I learn off every day. I mean, he's a very driven, hardworking, probably hardest working guy I know. He's super focused on that sort of thing, and data, loves numbers. I mean, him and Excel are brothers basically. And he's someone who, he's as I said, I admire every day. I can't pay enough compliments to him for often seeing the stuff that I don't sometimes ever look for, but don't think to look for, or not aware of, or he'll ask every single question before even the questions need to be asked. So I can't pay enough respect and compliments to him as well for that, because I think he's obviously CEO of the business. He is my co-founder. He does a lot of that side of the business that I look after more of the ops side, I guess. And he's I think we wouldn't be anywhere near the level of where we are if it wasn't for him.
Because I think there's a lot of people who make the mistake, and obviously I talk to people who deal with like a lot of consultants for startups and that sort of stuff, and they say a real common mistake is actually not realizing that even if you put 10 pence on the price at the bottom, that can equivalent to like £1 at the top, and that sort of stuff. And it's so important. I think that's where a lot of businesses, like a lot of startups, sort of succeed or fail, is on making sure that the price makes sense when you actually then go put it through its multipliers.
Totally. I think being disciplined and understanding what's right, what makes business sense, is always the first thing, probably the first question we ever ask ourselves, really, if we ever make a decision around where we go next. Do we retail? Do we look at going to the EU? Do we do this? Do we do that? It's always built around those questions and asking ourselves does it make business sense? The opportunity may be great. I mean, we get inbound a few times a year from people looking to distribute our stuff in Asia, for example. But when you get to the small print of what the contract looks like, and then suddenly, as you say, there's a £20,000 marketing spend we've got to spend in that country, it's like, well, actually that doesn't make sense right now. It might make sense. It might not make sense in the future either. But I think having everything that comes across your table and saying yes to every opportunity, you may end up suddenly realizing you've got no money left in the bank.
No. Yeah. Because I've met a few people actually. The Asian market is like crying out for black soldier fly products at the moment. Like I've met a few people at shows who are struggling to get product over there. But again, I've always thought unless you're manufacturing it nearby, it doesn't make a lot of sense shipping dog food to somewhere like Korea, because or to Japan or something like that.
There are people doing it from here, and there are insect-based dog foods, UK-based ones sold in Asia. We know that. I think if you're talking about sustainability, then there is an argument, and I hear it. But I think there is also demand in that market for British product, from what we understand. So if there's demand to be serviced and we can do so and it makes sense, then we'll give it a bash, definitely. And there's potential that could happen. We're waiting to hear back from one country, but it's talking from our current focus this year. We're not really focused on EU, a bit maybe testing online with Amazon. But we're not necessarily totally focused on EU and abroad until probably next year. We're keen to land it here first, get into a few more retailers here.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like it's with your team size as well. Like and again, it's like you take on. It's like America. I love the American market. Like I think it's just such a lucrative market, to be honest. It's so big. There's like so many angles. There's so like if you deal with one major pet food pet like dog retailer, it's like 2,000 stores.
Yeah.
Like Chewy's online, like what was it? Their revenue like 10 billion a year. These numbers are just absolutely insane. When you compare it to the UK market. So like I look at the American market all the time, and like I love it. And obviously, I've experience of being in it, but it's also. It's costly, like getting involved, because you need your own distribution channels. And if you're selling a food, I think like Euro, for example, are in the US market, and they're getting their stuff made out there, because again, by the time you've got to get it all FDA approved,
Yeah.
et cetera, and that's an expensive process unless your manufacturers are already like geared up towards that. It's problematic. So, but yeah, I always say the pet food game is a marketing game as much as anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And America, I think we'd love to do. I think definitely at some point, if we can get to that. I mean, I think we are perfect for a US market in terms of the way we brand and communicate and market, as you say, and then also Australia, other places like that. We'd love to be, I think, in. But I agree. I think the resources to get to the States is just, you need a significant amount of capital. I have a rough idea of how much that costs, and we're not. We're anywhere near that at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go and work there for free, though. I'll go and live in New York.
New York, you want to be in Montana. That's where we have one of our operations, Montana.
Oh, I mean, to be honest with you, I did a bit of traveling around America when I was a bit younger, and I loved it. So Chicago, cool. Texas, I'll take.
Yeah.
California, I'll do. I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah. Like Oregon's
Sure.
nice. Yeah, wild turkeys just milling around.
Why not?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. No, I'm a big fan of being in America, to be honest. So it's I think I did like 12, 13 shows there last year.
Oh wow, jeez.
So yeah,
You've seen every part of it, every state.
I think I'm up to like late 30s. Like the ones I haven't been to, that are like ones like Oklahoma and Missouri. No, I've been to Missouri. No, like Kansas. I've not been to.
Wow, okay.
Vermont.
Yeah.
I've been there, or like New Hampshire. It's kind of I've ticked off all the major ones at this point, So
Yeah.
But I've never done Hawaii or Alaska.
No, I've never done those either. I'd like to go, but maybe a holiday.
Well, in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently it's great. Apparently it's awesome. Anyway, we're supposed to talk about dog food.
Yeah,
not about
no. So from a consumer perspective, like how would you sell your product to a D2C customer?
So it depends on the audience we're speaking to, but I think the main sort of the two key value propositions we have with the products are around the novel protein side of things, or hypoallergenic. So a lot of our customers are customers looking for a solution to the issues their pets facing around either allergies or intolerances. I think 1 in 5 dogs have an allergy or intolerance to what they're eating, typically in their lifetime. So insect-based protein, being a novel protein, there's no developed allergies to it, means it's a great solution for pet parents looking to have a product that they can feed their dog, which won't then cause any symptoms or issues. And loads of customers come to us for that. So if it's that audience we're talking to, we really dial that up. And we talk about the nutritional side of the product as well. It's twice as rich in protein than beef. It's higher in omegas than salmon. It's got more iron than spinach. So nutritionally speaking, it's a great complete food for your pet, and it won't cause any issues. And there are thousands of customers, and you can go on Trustpilot and see that endorsement is there from their perspective, and that hopefully gets people over the edge and tips them into purchase. If we're talking to more maybe customers who are more veggie, flexitarian, vegan, who are more maybe sustainably focused and are looking for a good product that isn't meat because they don't feel comfortable feeding their dog meat, then we kind of dial that up and we speak more around the sustainable aspects of black soldier fly larvae and insect protein. The fact that you can grow a ton of it in 2 weeks in 20 square meters of land and using 30 liters of water, which is about 6 flushes of your average toilet. Its use of resource is far less impactful than meat, particularly if you're trying to grow meat ethically. Then you need acres of land, gallons of water, and years of time. Insect proteins are far more efficient protein source to produce, and it produces far less CO2. So, the stat we always use is if an average dog being fed an insect-based diet compared to a meat-based diet can save up to 1.5 tons of CO2 every year, which is pretty significant.
Cool. So, but then how would you then sell that then to a retailer? So if I'm the dude in the shop selling products, what would your sales strategy for me be?
It would be more around, I think we still talk about those two core value propositions. I think it's still the main driver of why people choose our products, and we probably would more lean on using a lot of the data catch that we find around why people have purchased us, or what's driving people to purchase, and why we feel customers who come in store will do that. And we'll probably also go to speak to store managers and say, what do you see in terms of trends that your customers are asking about that we know that we can service? So gut health is a big one, I feel. So we talk about that one, particularly to retail selling. Well, the product benefits of what we do is, it's, as I kind of already just mentioned, it's a very good nutritious protein source. It's very good for gut health. It's high in omegas. It's high in aminos. We'll dial that angle up, and we'll prop it up with data from our own customer feedback or post-purchase surveys, etc., to then provide to say, well, this is why customers are liking it, and they will come to your store to buy it. If they've already got insect-based products in their category in their stores, then offering another option is also another way of just building the category, allowing it to have more space on shelf, driving more awareness to it, hopefully buying increases purchase. So we'll dial it up. I mean, but ultimately the value propositions don't really change in terms of what the benefits of the product is and why it's valuable to their customers.
Yeah, and like I say, I think from a retailer perspective, your packaging is a lot more, is quite standoutish as well. So when it's placed, let's say in the generalized wall of dog food that you see in shelter stores, it definitely has a more striking look than. So I think there's like people when they enter that sort of premium category, they all go for a very similar look, that kind of almost tried and tested, almost like royal packaging, you know. Whereas yours is, more like open and fun, right?
Yes, definitely try to catch eyes, and so we use jazzy colours, bright pinks, yellows, greens, sky blues, etc., to kind of really stand out on shelf and hopefully draw your attention to us and pick us up and have a read. And we put everything on pack. We don't hide anything. There's no smoke and mirrors around what we're doing. There's no mystery. We try and we are as open as we can be around our supply chain. Who our suppliers are, how we procure insects, what the insects go through in terms of their life stage and journey. We really like to talk about it and educate, because I think it really breaks that barrier down. There's actually ultimately, if you probably look and compare an insect farm to, say, some other farms out there that produce chicken at scale, for example, I think you'd be amazed at the tech and hygiene and cleanliness of these insect farms comparative to these other places. So we really want to kind of try and showcase that, and if we can communicate that through a touch point of packaging, which is the kind of first touch point on retail for us as a brand, then we'll do so, and we'll try and be as engaging as possible to make sure that you put us in your basket.
I think also when you see chicken farms at scale, they're like slightly disturbing. Yeah. Compared to, obviously, I work in an insect farm, and it's like the insects will naturally sort of huddle up together in the corners anyway. So there's not. It's just a very different vibe. I mean, I find poultry farms actually quite disturbing when I walk around them.
Yeah, I think it's a question we get asked a lot around. I think because we talk about sustainability, but we are still using an animal or an insect still is a living, beating thing, I guess, in that sense. So we still get asked around the ethical process. But as you say, they are built to be farmed in tiny spaces. They love being in the mud, in the dark, in tight spaces and huddled together, which is what we inflict on animals that shouldn't have that treatment done to them in order to produce a protein. So it's almost, I don't want to refer to as battery farming, but it's the most ethical way. It's the most ethical battery farm out there in terms of insect protein, because they live in those they like living in those conditions, and you can do it at scale. So, and they're fed on organic waste matter, which is another great solution. So being a closed loop food system really helps. So yeah, I can't praise bugs enough. I never thought I'd be working in insect based dog food, but going back to the school days of what do you want to do when you grow up, Hugh? Footballer was probably top of the list, actor second, maybe golfer third. I don't think anywhere on the list was insect based dog food, but here we are. It's been a journey.
No, it was always my main goal.
Or is it?
Yeah, no.
You're wearing a Hartfield United top. I think you're probably a footballer as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I think like, you know, a lot of boys my age were like wanted to be footballers, but yeah, it's the reality of having us like, you know, playing at an academy and then getting booted out because you were rubbish. You know, soon kicks in, to be honest. So, yeah, man, yeah, like so. Okay, so Hugh, if people want to get in touch, what's your barriers to entry? And like, if I'm a retailer, I say Grub Club. That sounds like the stuff I need up on my shelf. What's your barriers to entry, and how can they get in touch with you?
In terms of getting in touch, you can LinkedIn. It's a good way of getting in touch. We're a pretty open door policy at Grub Club. We'll talk to anybody from any level of scale. We listed Pets at Home already, but we'll talk to anyone who's in that league, or we'll talk to a small independent business and we'll deal with you directly as well. I mean, when you can phone us up, you can leave us a message on our website, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, you can email me. It's hugh@mygrubclub.com. And we are keen to work with anybody who believes in what we're doing, believes in the category, and wants to work together in terms of hopefully pushing us out there and building what we think is a good product, great product for pets, and one that would, I think, hopefully allow customers to have a different option to feed their pet in a more sustainable way.
Awesome, dude. Thanks a million for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man.
Did I pass the test?
We'll have to let you know. 7 to 10 days, you'll get a letter in the post.
Oh, no, that's it. You got beat it out.
Well, one of our admin team will call you later this week.
The former COO of Grub Club.
Thanks a million, man.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.